Stay a while and listen.
The novel Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy takes place in the borderlands between Texas and Mexico in the year 1850. It follows a gang of scalp hunters who have been hired by the government to kill Apache Indians, and it depicts brutal acts of violence and also features merciless characters. It is common for readers to stop reading because of the brutality, and one critic even went as far as stopped reading because he got nightmares from the book. Yet Blood Meridian has been widely acclaimed since its publication in 1985. Here's one of my favorite moments in Blood Meridian, where a guy called Sproule is being attacked by a vampire in the middle of the night. That is a vampire bat. Our protagonist, the kid, doesn't have any sympathy for his reaction after he's attacked, but instead he just spits and condemns his actions with a very enigmatic sentence. Our protagonist, simply called the kid, is wandering lost in the desert after his old gang has been massacred by Indians. His only companion is Sproule, who has a worm-infected open wound in his arm. After having walked in the desert for many days, they lie down in the sand at night to sleep. But something black appears out of the night while they are sleeping. A vampire bat settles on Sproule, bites into his neck, and starts sucking his blood while he lies asleep. He wakes up shrieking, and after the bat is gone, he holds out his bloodied hand as an accusation of the kid. But the kid doesn't have any sympathy with Sproule. Instead, he merely spits and then says this sentence: "I know you're kind. What is wrong with you is wrong all the way through you." Here is the passage where this whole episode takes place.
They walked on into the dark, and they slept like dogs in the sand, and had been sleeping so, when something black flapped up out of the night ground and perched on Sproule's chest. Fine finger bones stayed the leather wings with which it steadied as it walked upon him. A wrinkled pug face, small and vicious, bare lips crimped in a horrible smile, and teeth pale blue in the starlight. It leaned to him. It crafted in his neck 2 narrow grooves, and folding its wings over him, it began to drink his blood. The kid was up and had seized a rock, but the bat sprang away and vanished in the dark. Sproule was clawing at his neck, and he was gibbering hysterically. And when he saw the kid standing there looking down at him, he held out to him his bloodied hands as if in accusation, and then clapped them to his ears and cried out what it seemed he himself would not hear, a howl of such outrage as to stitch a caesura in the pulse beat of the world. But the kid only spat into the darkness of the space between them. "I know you're kind," he said. "What's wrong with you is wrong all the way through you."
My first reaction when reading this was, poor Sproule. He's already wounded and exhausted, near dying. And then when he lies down just to get some sleep, just relax, and finally forget how awful the world currently is for him, a vampire bat settles on him while he's asleep and just starts sucking his blood. Imagine waking up to just a creature that's just sucking your blood from your neck, and it must just have been awful. So it's really no wonder that he reacts as he does. But the kid, who just a few pages previously actually refused to abandon Sproule, even though Sproule told him to just go on alone, now the kid just spits at the sight of this misery. He refuses to have any pity with him, and he even goes as far as saying this mysterious sentence: "I know you're kind. What is wrong with you is wrong all the way through you." But he isn't unfriendly towards Sproule before this incident, and he even picks up a rock to actually help Sproule fight off the bat. So why does the kid react as he does? We're not really expecting him to lay an arm around poor Sproule and say, "Oh, it's okay, buddy," but at least not just spit and just condemn him after this attack. So why does he react as he does? But I think it's important to notice that Sproule isn't just simply bitten and then screams out in shock and then accept the fact that he has been attacked and deals with it. Instead, he holds out his bloody hands to the kid and then accuses him and also the whole world, since he screams out and he covers his ears with his bloodied hands. So it's a howl of outrage of something not being right in the world, of something Sproule thinks is not right with the world. Now, the author has given us a rather special protagonist. The kid doesn't speak much and we very, very rarely get any access to his thoughts. So to understand this situation, we're only left with this enigmatic sentence, "I know you're kind, what is wrong with you is wrong all the way through you." We must thus ourselves provide the flesh, so to say, on this bare bones of a statement to try to understand why the kid reacts as he does to this incident, which has puzzled me a lot. It's apparent that the kid is disgusted by Sproule's reaction to this violence inflicted upon him by nature, by this bat. I think if the kid had been more talkative, he would have perhaps said something along these lines after he had said his sentence of condemnation. He could have elaborated it in this way. "It's not just your wounds, Sproule, that are wrong. It's your whole attitude towards life and existence. You should take it like a man. Don't cry out and expect justice and fairness from nature and the world. You would have eaten the bat if you had the chance, just as it eats you. You act like you have a special place in your imagined order of the universe. Don't howl out your outrage at the world like this. It's just completely pointless." We can contrast this scene with Sproule being attacked and wounded and his reaction to this attack with a scene that happens just a few pages into this novel, where the kid is only 15 years old and he actually gets shot in the back in a bar, and after the first shot he turns around to fight, but then he gets shot again, I think really close to the heart, so he's shot twice. But the kid doesn't scream out there, and he just doesn't hold forth his bloodied hand in accusation or curse the world or something like that. He just tried to lean down with a pillar, towards a pillar, and then afterwards he sits down. But at least what we read is that he's just silent. So it is clear that the kid thinks that Sproule represents a certain kind of person, and that kind of person is different from the kid himself. This we can also see in the kid's action just before the condemnation of Sproule, where he spits into the darkness between them. So there's a clear separation of those two. There's darkness between them. There's a difference between these two kinds of persons. So what kind of person is Sproule and what kind of person is the kid? I think a scene a few pages before the vampire illustrates the difference between the two. In this scene, they come across two vultures sitting upon a dead child, eating him. Sproule tries to shoo them away, though he is ineffective, and they just flap their wings and hiss at him. Here the kid does nothing. I think Sproule believes in some sort of moral order, where vampire bats don't bite humans, and where vultures do not eat dead children. Or he simply can't deal with this being part of the world, and thus his cry of outrage later. Sproule judges the world and finds it does not live up to his ideals. The kid in contrast is arguably a realist, one who simply looks on at the world and accepts it as it is, but does not judge it. He will not be outraged at the horror, the seemingly pointlessness of existence and the brutality. But this does not mean that the kid cannot be compassionate, and he sometimes, during the novel, actually helps the weak, even though he may risk his own life to do so. But there's no help for Sproule's attitude to the world, and that attitude of not accepting the world and crying out against it, that can be the path to nihilism and despair. The kid thus spits and distances himself from Sproule, uttering this, "I know you're kind. What is wrong with you is wrong all the way through you." So the kid cannot help Sproule, but he's left merely to condemn Sproule's attitude towards life and suffering. It is not thus only the physical wounds that is wrong with Sproule, but what is wrong with him is wrong all the way through him. His being, his attitude, his whole worldview is not acceptable to the kid, and such a worldview as Sproule has is not very good in this kind of brutal desert environment that they find themselves in. Ironically, Sproule actually came out west because of his health, because he's suffering from consumption or tuberculosis. But it's not just Sproule's body the kid finds fault with, it is his being, it is all the way through.